How do the bank accounts work in a syndication or a fund? This is one of these mechanical discussions, pretty simple. It might not be obvious, but it's really pretty simple once you figure this out. So here's what you got. So your syndication or your fund, and both these in this situation are exactly the same, is an LLC. It's an operating entity, and it has to have a manager. The manager is probably going to be some other company that belongs to the promoter. It could be their property management firm. It could be an entity that's set up just specifically for this purpose. And that manager becomes the signatory on the fund's bank account. So here's what happens. The fund sets up a bank account. And by the way, this is not always easy to do. Setting up a bank account can be a lot of work for a syndication or a fund because the banks are very nervous about these Patriot Act laws that they're subject to, and they have to know their customer and all the other stuff. And they're saying, well, gee, you've got millions of dollars in this bank account. Where did the money come from? Is it your money? No, it's money from other people. Well, what other people? Because they're concerned that you might have gotten the money from a place that is improper, in other words, affiliated with terrorists or money laundering or some other kinds of things. So they want to be very careful that they're not taking in money that isn't good for them to take in. And so you have to be a little careful. You have to share with them information that helps them understand that. So the bank sets up the bank account, and we name the manager as the signatory on that account because they're the manager of the fund. They're going to make all the decisions for the fund. They're the signatory on the operating agreement. And by the way, the operating agreement is the document that gives you the power to open a bank account. And that's the document that the bank is going to require in order to open the bank account, in addition to articles of incorporation and whatever formation paperwork your attorney gives to you. So you set up the bank accounts for the LLC. The manager is the signatory on that. And that's specifically for acquiring fund assets. Now, the way that we did this is, what we recommend to other people is you set up two bank accounts. One is a savings account, one is an operating account. The operating account is for writing checks. That's for, paying your regular bills. It's for handling your regular stuff. The savings account is really more your capital, so your capital account. So let's say that people put in millions of dollars. The millions of dollars goes in the savings account. When you're buying real estate, you might buy out of the savings account, and you got to build in a couple of safeguards because that's an awful lot of money sitting around. You don't want to, take a chance that there could be something go wrong, or somebody could wire money to the wrong place or do something that's improper. So you have to have we want to put a couple signatories on that account, even though it's one manager. It might be two people inside the manager that are authorized over a certain number of dollars. I mean, you have to talk to your accountant, some of your advisory people about how to set these sort of things up. But you got to have some internal controls just to be careful. So you set up this bank account or two bank accounts, and you're using it. You're doing all the things you're supposed to do. The manager, on the other hand, has a separate bank account for his or her own company. So let's say, for example, that the manager is going to render some services to the fund. The fund will actually write a check that the manager signs to another account that might be owned by the manager, and then the manager deposits that money. And that's okay as long as everything is disclosed, but they're all separate, and you just have to keep care and good, careful records of what you're doing. You got to have some internal controls to make sure that the banking is handled properly, because this is a place that people get very nervous and upset, and you just have to have good record keeping. And if you do all of those things, then you'll be successful, and you'll see that this is really not as complicated as it appears at first glance. This is a great business. Go out and stake your claim.